You are without doubt the worst pirate I've ever heard of.
But you have heard of me.
Free as a bird and always ahead of his enemies, Jack Sparrow is without a doubt the most iconic character from the Pirates of the Caribbean films, and one of the most iconic action heroes of all time. Son of Captain Edward Teague and an unknown woman, born in a typhoon, Jack has spent his entire life searching for purpose in the treacherous waters of the world of piracy. Being a pirate in his teen years, but eventually finding employment with the East India Trading Company, freeing slaves and going on a quest to find cursed treasure, to battling the infamous Davy Jones, Jack Sparrow has had quite the remarkable life. To add to the allure of his misadventures, he has a very lackadaisical and flamboyant personality that are unforgettable. This all begs the question, what inspired Captain Jack Sparrow? Is he based on any real historical figures, or was he the product of pure fiction? Buckle up, because this is about to get weird. Now let's get the obvious out of the way. Everybody knows that Keith Richards and old cartoons like the Looney Tunes were inspirations for Johnny Depp's performance. Along with that, in an archetypical sense, he's very much supposed to be the equivalent of a Han Solo figure, with his outfit and overall dynamic with Will in Curse of the Black Pearl, but also a bit of a mentor figure like classic wizards and old fairy tales. After all, Curse of the Black Pearl is a pretty straightforward example of the hero's journey, so it makes sense that they need a character to help the knight in shining armor save the princess from the evil sorcerer. However, if you're a frequent viewer of the series, you'll know that there's more to these characters than meets the eye. I theorize that there were some real people who inspired the creation of Captain Jack Sparrow. John Ward, born around 1553 in England, embarked on a journey that would etch his name into the history of piracy. Known alternatively as Jack Ward and later Yusuf Rees, Ward's life was a prime example of the life of adventure all pirates seek. Ward's early years remain largely shrouded in mystery, but it is known that he began his maritime career as a fisherman and sailor. By the late 16th century, Ward became a privateer to fend off the Spanish Armada's invasion of England. Prior to the invasion, privateers were issued letters of marque, a license to legally practice piracy against the enemies of their home nation. However, with the ascension of James I to the British throne, the war had ended, and thus the letters of marque were rendered null and void. It is said that by 1604, Ward was pressed into service aboard a ship sailing for the king, the Lion's Whelp. That same year, Ward's life took a dramatic turn when he, along with a group of fellow sailors, mutinied against their commander. Seizing a ship, they set sail for the Mediterranean, marking the beginning of Ward's career as a pirate. His early adventures were characterized by small-scale raids and opportunistic attacks on merchant vessels. Ward's piratical exploits soon caught the attention of the Barbary Corsairs, a group of North African pirates operating in the ports of Tunis, Algiers, and Tripoli. In 1605, Ward made a bold move by defecting to the Corsairs, converting to Islam, and adopting the name Yusuf Rees. This alliance granted Ward access to resources, ships, and men, propelling him to greater heights of infamy. Under the banner of the Barbary Corsairs, Ward quickly established himself as a formidable pirate captain. His fleet grew in size and strength, and he became known for his daring tactics and ruthless efficiency. Ward's flagship, a heavily armed galleon called the Gift, became a symbol of terror on the high seas. One of Ward's most notorious exploits came in 1607, when he captured the English ship John Baptist. Renaming it the Little John, Ward used this vessel to launch a series of successful raids, amassing considerable wealth and infamy. His growing reputation attracted a diverse crew of outcasts, adventurers, and fellow pirates from across Europe and North Africa. By 1608, Ward had established himself as one of the most powerful and feared pirates in the Mediterranean. His alliance with the Barbary Corsairs and his conversion to Islam afforded him a degree of protection and legitimacy that his contemporaries lacked. Ward's fleet terrorized shipping lanes, targeting Spanish, French, and English vessels with impunity. Ward's success brought him considerable wealth, and he used that to build a lavish lifestyle in Tunis. He acquired a large estate, complete with slaves and servants, and lived in relative opulence. Despite his newfound status, Ward remained a pirate at heart, continuing to lead daring raids and expanding his fleet. Ward's relentless pursuit of wealth and power made him a target. European powers, particularly England, were determined to bring him to justice. Efforts to capture or kill Ward intensified, but his knowledge of the Mediterranean and his alliances with local rulers allowed him to evade capture time and time again. The golden years of Ward's piracy began to wane in the early 1610s. Increased naval patrols and coordinated efforts by European powers made piracy more perilous. Additionally, internal strife and betrayal within his own ranks undermined his once unassailable position. By 1612, Ward's fleet had suffered significant losses, and his influence was on the decline. Despite these setbacks, Ward continued to evade capture. He spent his final years in relative obscurity, living quietly in Tunis. According to some accounts, Ward became a respected member of the local community, living out his days in peace. He died around 1622, leaving behind a legacy that will be romanticized and vilified in equal measure. Ward's life is a testament to the tumultuous and often brutal world of piracy during the early 17th century. His rise from humble beginnings to become one of the most notorious pirates of his era is a story of daring ambition and defiance. Much like our dear friend Captain Jack Sparrow, Ward started his career working for larger powers during an era of great change in European history, constantly evading British forces, and they even used bird-themed aliases. Of course, Jack Sparrow used the name Sparrow, though it could also be his birth name, since that's never been delved into. But Ward also had the nickname Birdie, often having the name Sparrow attributed to him by modern authors. However, there's no real historical basis that I can find for that name. I think there might have been some inspiration from Blackbeard as well. Born Edward Teach, or Thatch, in 1680 in England, he became one of the most infamous pirates in the Golden Age of piracy. His formidable ship, the Queen Anne's Revenge, was originally a French slave ship named La Concorde. In late 1717, Blackbeard encountered a mighty vessel off the coast of the West Indies. The ship, heavily laden with enslaved Africans and undermanned, was an easy target. Blackbeard's approach was strategic and intimidating, leading the French crew to surrender without significant resistance. After the capture, Blackbeard saw potential in La Concorde due to its size and sturdiness. He renamed it to the Queen Anne's Revenge and outfitted it with 40 guns, transforming it into a powerful pirate vessel. The ship became the flagship of Blackbeard's fleet, symbolizing his rise to power. With the Queen Anne's Revenge, Blackbeard terrorized the Caribbean and the southeastern coast of North America, launching infamous raids like the blockade of Charleston, South Carolina, in May of 1718. Of course, Jack got his infamous ship, the Black Pearl, from his employment in the East India Company, where he was commissioned to transport slaves. But of course, he freed them and had his ship sunk as punishment. Whether or not this is supposed to be based on Blackbeard is pure speculation on my part, but it's an odd coincidence to have two famous pirates who both stole slave ships for their own reasons, freeing the enslaved people aboard and having that ship be their leading status symbol. And I can't help but notice how similar the names of Blackbeard and Jack Sparrow's father are, being Edward Teach and Edward Teague, respectively. Another figure I think could be a solid candidate for inspiration is Calico Jack Rackham, a nickname he gained for his distinctive clothing made of calico fabric. Born John Rackham in 1680s in England, little is known about his early life, but he entered the annals of piracy in the early 18th century during the Golden Age of piracy. Rackham's first notable appearance in the historical record was as quartermaster under the pirate captain Charles Vane. Vane was notorious for his refusal to surrender to naval forces and his daring escapes from the law. Rackham quickly proved himself a capable and cunning pirate, earning the respect of his crewmates. In November 1718, a crucial turning point occurred. Vane decided to flee from a French man-of-war, but Rackham and the majority of the crew disagreed, believing they could take the ship. This disagreement led to a vote among the crew, which resulted in Vane's ousting as captain. Rackham was elected the new captain, marking the beginning of his own notorious career. As captain, Rackham quickly demonstrated his leadership and strategic skills. He favored small, fast vessels that allowed him to conduct swift raids on merchant ships in the Caribbean. Rackham's strategy relied on surprise and speed, and his crew gained the reputation for their daring and success. One of Rackham's most famous exploits was the capture of the sloop William in 1719. This vessel became the flagship of his small fleet, and under his command, the crew engaged in numerous successful raids. Rackham's pirate flag, featuring a skull with crossed swords, became an enduring symbol of piracy, known today as the Jolly Roger. Rackham's personal life was as colorful as his pirate career. He famously had a relationship with Anne Bonny, the wife of a small-time pirate. Bonny left her husband to join Rackham at sea, and she quickly proved herself to be a fierce and capable pirate. Together, they formed a formidable team, and Anne Bonny became one of the few pirates whose name is still remembered. Rackham's crew was a motley assemble of pirates, and two of its most famous members were Anne Bonny and Mary Read. Mary Read had also disguised herself as a man to live a life of piracy. When her true gender was discovered, she and Anne Bonny formed a close bond, and both women fought alongside Rackham, earning their place in pirate lore. In one notable incident, Rackham and his crew encountered a heavily armed Spanish ship. Instead of fleeing, Rackham decided to engage in battle. His crew fought valiantly, and despite being outgunned, they managed to board and capture the ship. This victory solidified Rackham's reputation as a daring and resourceful pirate captain. Rackham's luck, however, began to run out in late 1720. While anchored off the coast of Jamaica, his crew was surprised by a pirate hunter, Captain Jonathan Barnett, who had been commissioned by the governor of Jamaica to capture pirates. Rackham's crew, taken off guard and possibly intoxicated, offered little resistance, where they were captured and taken to Jamaica for trial. In November 1720, Rackham and his crew stood trial for the crimes of piracy. The trial was swift, and they were found guilty. Rackham was sentenced to be hanged. Anne Bonny and Mary Read, however, were both found to be pregnant, and thus received a temporary stay of execution. Before his execution, Rackham reportedly asked to see Anne Bonny one last time. According to legend, Bonny's parting words to him were, "If you had fought like a man, you need not have been hanged like a dog." Rackham was executed on November 18, 1720, and his body was gibbeted on a small islet near Port Royal, now known as Rackham's Key, as a warning to other pirates. Jack Rackham's legacy is immortalized in pirate lore, not only for his own deeds, but also for the infamous women who fought alongside him. His distinctive flag and daring exploits have cemented his place in the romanticized image of pirates in popular culture. While his career was relatively short, his impact on the mythology of piracy remains significant, embodying the audacity and flamboyance we all associate with the golden age of piracy. But those are all merely legends. Yes, the legendary story of Calico Jack Rackham was almost entirely fiction, all originated from our good old friend, the General History of Pirates, an unsubstantiated collection of stories about the time's greatest outlaws. If you want a better look at the real story of Jack Rackham, you should check out the video on him by the channel Golden Gunpowder. He's a good friend of mine. He goes into detail on the different myths surrounding Rackham, examples of outlandish claims from the General History of Pirates, and who he really was. Go check out his channel and subscribe, and if you don't, I will find you. In spite of Rackham's larger-than-life fictitious story, his execution was an actual recorded event in history. And, in a bit of a meta inside joke, one of the corpses Jack Sparrow salutes in his introduction in Curse of the Black Pearl was supposed to be Jack Rackham, at least according to co-writer of the film, Terry Rossio, which is a funny symbolic passing of the torch. But in short, Jack Sparrow was a product of real history, the Flanderized story of pirate legends, and of course, different modern examples of cartoon tricksters and rock stars. All of these are tied together by solid writing, directing, and a genius performance by Johnny Depp. They all compounded into a character that made the cinematic history books, the worst pirate you've ever heard of, but one you'll not soon forget. Thank you all so much for watching. If you liked it, be sure to like and subscribe, and comment down below your thoughts on this. Do you think Jack was based on a rogue English Islamic pirate? Which scenes with Jack Sparrow are your favorite in the Pirates movies? Let's get some discussions going. Also, if you want to talk to me one-on-one about different piratey topics, feel free to join my Discord server. I'm always free to chat, so swing by if you're interested. Also, if you want to financially support my channel, feel free to check out my merch store or donate to my Patreon page. That way I can dedicate more time to making videos for you guys. A mere $5 a month on Patreon will also get your name listed in the credits at the end of my videos. If you have some extra cash around, consider donating. That's all for today, and I hope you all have a great day.